Swivl Sessions, interviews with field service entrepreneurs. Get insights and strategies from those who took the leap and risked it all to start their own home service companies. Never get tired of the family-centric businesses and business owners that we talked to, and this last session was definitely one of them. Bryan Landreth with North Alabama Plumbing. Rob, what do you got?
Yeah, it was a great conversation. It was just a super nice guy, right? And it looked like he had just integrity in his business. He's not one of those guys that wants to kind of whip everyone into a massive revenue year. He's content with a slow growth model, and started at an early age and is doing pretty darn well. So 5 years in business, and he's a decent success up there in North Alabama and Huntsville area.
He said something that I really, really appreciated, which was make mistakes. Don't be afraid to make those mistakes. You won't regret it because it is life-changing. I think when these people go out and they start these companies, they wonder when the phone is going to ring, and you just have to get out there and you have to do it. And he has definitely done a good job with North Alabama Plumbing. Bryan Landreth, enjoy the show.
Welcome to Swivl Sessions, where we dive into the world of field service entrepreneurship. Now, before we get going into today's interview, let's introduce the hosts you'll be hearing from. First, there's Tyson. He's so obsessed with perfecting the podcast edits, we're worried we'll never actually see an episode. Apparently, every N is a personal affront to his craft. Tyson.
It's our baby. We want to treat it right. Thanks, Rob. Next up, Brian, we've got Jeremy. Jeremy's our sales guru. He is the sales master. He is everything good about sales. The only thing Jeremy is bad about is buying coffee for the office. This swill that he got from Kroger, it
sucks.
It tastes like regret and tires. Okay, so take it away, Jeremy.
It's keeping the costs down. Rob's all about costs. Hey, Brian, while we're talking about Rob, meet Rob. He's the operations guru here at Swivl and certified wuss when it comes to cold temperatures. His office is basically a walk-in freezer, yet he constantly complains like he's trekking across Antarctica in 3 feet of snow. Someone please get this man a space heater and a backbone. That's Rob.
Legitimately is over air conditioned during, arguably a cold.
We're gonna need it later. Trust me.
We will, for sure. All right, well, enough about us. So today we're excited to introduce Bryan Landreth, owner of North Alabama Plumbing Company, a successful family-owned plumbing company based in Huntsville, Alabama. So, Bryan, welcome to Swivl Sessions. It's great to have you here. How are things in Huntsville?
Things are great, guys. Thanks for having me. Yeah, things have been good. We really love the Huntsville area. It's a growing community. Population's just climbing every year, and business has been great for us up here.
So isn't Huntsville just full of scientists and rocket scientists and incredibly smart
and
people?
Engineers. A lot of engineers.
And that's because we had
a Space and Rocket Center. We got the Redstone Arsenal, a lot of military backgrounds and people like that.
All right. So it's not Alabama, University of Alabama, and it's not Auburn around there.
Yeah, University of Alabama, Huntsville is up here.
All right.
Engineers can be very good customers, I would assume.
Pros and cons, my honest opinion.
Didn't think about that.
Are you from Huntsville?
Know too much.
It's usually their way or the highway, and their way is not always the correct way. So we just got to navigate around that a little bit. Yeah, no, it's fun.
Rob, did you have a question?
Well, I was going to ask if you were from Huntsville. It's a good segue into what you're probably going to ask.
I'm from Huntsville.
Yeah.
No, I'm actually from Birmingham, about 2 hours south of Huntsville. I moved up here roughly 10 years ago and just fell in love with the city. Birmingham just wasn't the best area that I was living in. And then Huntsville, the people up here, just a drastic change of environment. And like I said, I just fell in love with the city and made it our home.
What are some of the communities around? Sorry to interrupt, Jeremy. What other communities are around Huntsville?
So you got Madison, which is where we live, just west of Huntsville. You got Athens, again, a little west. Scottsboro's on the east side. Coleman's down south, and then Birmingham. Then you get into Tuscaloosa, University of Alabama.
So there's places around there. Nice.
Yeah, you're really not far from like Chattanooga and the Tennessee border, right?
Correct. And Nashville's, about 2 hours. Atlanta's not too terribly far. Yeah.
So. Well, tell us, so you kind of moved from Birmingham to Huntsville. Give us some background on kind of your work history and what you were doing before you started Alabama Plumbing
Or
So
plumbing?
right off the
or
bat, I
plumbing.
had my son in high school. So my senior year, I was blessed with Easton as his name, and so I immediately knew I had to go straight into the workforce. College wasn't my path. Dad said, "You got to buy them diapers, son." He
That's right.
immediately jumped in. Now my dad owned his own heating and air business down in Birmingham, but we were too much of alike as people. We butted heads. It was hard enough living together, let alone trying to work together and do that mash. But I knew I wanted to do something service, wise. So I asked him about plumbing, and he happened to know a plumbing owner that he had worked hand in hand with. And next thing I know, I'm getting an interview and diving into plumbing. So that's kind of what started my journey right out of high school. Just getting into it and working 60 hours a week. They worked us like crazy over there, but
Was it like
learned.
an apprenticeship or just?
It was an apprenticeship. I went through worked with them for 2 years. And they did pretty much everything, commercial service. They didn't do any new construction. That is one thing I wish I had the capability of learning. But a lot of commercial, a lot of service, septic tanks, field lines, pretty much across the board, everything except for new builds.
And so you were apprentice for a little while. Was there a moment that it kind of clicked with you? Okay, I can do this myself. Was there just an instance where you realized, okay, I want to be my own boss?
So I was working for a company. So I'd moved up to Huntsville and was working for a local company up here. And after a couple years, I quickly became like the lead tech and was kind of managing and helping out the smaller guys, the guys that were younger guys that were learning. And then I quickly knew like, hey, I've got a solid grasp of this. I'm kind of a little OCD and I kind of like over focus on what I like to do. And I've just fallen in love with plumbing. So I quickly pick things up. And once I learn it, I want to be the best at it. So I was a fast learner at the trade and working there, they ended up bringing this new manager in, which I felt like should have been my position to gain. But they brought in this outside guy and I was like, well, hey, I think I just lost my rings on my ladder. I think I just hit the peak of where I'm at. And if I want to have more rings on my ladder, I got to jump ship. So it was a
Build
conversation
your
me
own
and my
ladder,
wife
right?
had, and she was extremely supportive. My wife has been fantastic throughout this whole process. And we just decided to do it. We talked about it. And then next thing I know, 4 months later, I drive past the dealership and I see my dream van and I'm just whipping up in there and taking the van. I didn't even have my master license. I was qualified to take my master's and we had talked about it, but I actually bought the van before achieving my license. And then my wife's like, all right, it's time to buckle up, get the show on the road.
Because you have to have your master's license to run it, right? Or you could hire another master plumber to come in and essentially.
You have to have your master license. Yeah, I mean, you could hire as long as they work for you full time. I guess you could hire out another
Yeah,
master
right.
license. Yeah, it much better to get it yourself.
So I started out in plumbing as well. I mean, I wasn't doing the plumbing, but I hired a guy kind of like part-time-ish to and maybe it's different in Georgia. I don't even know if that was even legal, but to pull permits and just be the guy whose license that we used part-time.
So around here, it's extremely frowned upon. They call it pimping your license.
Right.
And if you get caught, you definitely. I mean, I'm sure there's a gray area and ways around it that you could work. Especially if you're working with them, part time instead of just like subbing them out kind of ordeal. I think it's okay, but definitely frowned upon.
Yeah. I mean, it was a partner's dad who was semi-retired, so he just was just there, but it worked. So let me ask you about your expectations. So obviously well, I mean, you wanted to jump ship to start your own thing before you had to cross some T's and dot some I's, like getting your master's license. So you found the truck and started to move. I like to explore your expectations. So before you started your own business, did you have expectations of what you would find on the other side? Like again, a lot of people think they're just going to start rolling in dough, or they think that they're going to be fishing most of the time. Tell me some of your expectations that were met or were not met.
I mean, I expected to work and stay pretty busy. One of my biggest expectations I wanted to have was kind of get to control my own schedule. When I started my company, I never anticipated hiring people. It was more of just I want to be owner operator type thing and be able to just take off when I want and pick and choose kind of what I want to do, be able to go catch my daughter's softball game without having to feel like I'm taking off work too much, just kind of that thing. And then it ended up taking off, and now I'm too busy and I miss a majority of the softball games. But
That's
that
funny.
was my expectation, was to, grow, get steady work, and then get to pick and choose my battles.
Yeah. Yeah, that's that can be a heavy price to pay, I know. And so you're growing then? You've got some people that you've hired?
We do. We've got 3 plumbers on the road. Office staff. My wife, she runs majority of the office for us.
Shout out to Shelby.
Yes.
So what kind of plumbing then? So I know you said that you didn't get trained in new construction. So it's mostly service.
Mainly service. We really specialize in remodels. That's kind of our niche. I'm ironically remodeling my bathroom now as we speak. But we work with a lot of restoration companies, a lot of contractors, a lot of interior designers, and we just go in and change things, move showers, put in these beautiful freestanding tubs, and just specialize in that aspect.
So it's not necessarily service. I mean, I guess it's kind of an in between of
It is. I
construction
mean,
and
it is mainly service, residential
yeah,
service. We
right.
do light commercial, try to stay away from the big, huge hotels and stuff, as we're small right now.
I mean, 3 trucks. I mean, you could probably handle a bit of those things, right?
Yeah, we could, but we like I said, we stay pretty busy with the remodel side of it, and I've found that
Yeah.
niche, and we're comfortable with it.
So do you find that that remodel business, how long you been in business for now?
5 years. So I started in 2020, right after COVID.
Okay. That's pretty good. 5 years, 3 trucks. I'm just wondering, I mean, I guess in those 5 years, we've pretty much been since COVID to, a little bit ago, the economy's been pretty good with a lot of disposable income. So I'm wondering if have you looked into how cyclical or I know it's like annually cyclical, but recession proof that part of your business is?
I've thought about it. I'm losing work and not having work for my guys and a steady income for them. I mean, that's the biggest thing I'll lose sleep over. I mean, thankfully we're blessed right now, but like if the phone slows down and I'm like, we don't have work for tomorrow, I'm like, kind of what's going on? If it continues for a couple of days, I start sweating. So recession and the economy definitely weighs in. But I mean, currently we're not paying anything for marketing. I mean,
Right.
we're
Well, that's
just
great.
floating and maintaining, and we're still having a decent Google presence. I mean, we're still drawing in new customers, and we're staying as busy as we'd like to be. So if it did get to that point to where, remodels just dropped off and we're having to pick up extra service work, I just felt like I would dive back to where I started and just pay a good handful in marketing to keep us steady.
Yeah, yeah. I always, the service stuff, that was always my argument why I focused on the service. It seems like no matter what the economy is doing, your toilet's going to back up, or your sewer line's going to break, or your water heater's going to explode and go all over the place, and you're going to need a new one.
That's
So
right. I'll never forget the first boss down in Birmingham that I had. He said, when the economy crashes, he's like, nobody's going to care about how their tile looks or,
yeah,
what
right.
the color paint on their walls. But as soon as their toilet quits working,
You're
they're
getting a
calling
call.
somebody to
You're getting a
fix that
call.
toilet. So
And I think that's the problem with labor too. Is like your labor supply or demand is it goes up and down with it as well. So all those new construction guys, whenever the economy goes into a tank, they're knocking on your door for jobs, and then when it's booming, it's the opposite.
that's true.
Like I think navigating these things was, in my opinion, that was one of those unforeseen hurdles that it was tough for me to get my head around until I went through it. I'm an old man. In 2008, there was a massive recession, and like things just kind of slowed down to nothing. I mean, even service calls were like real service where you had to be out there, but payments slowed down. Tell me about your unforeseen hurdles. So, like, what problems did you run into over the past 5 years that you just did not? It's, I guess, kind of a second part of the expectations question. So, unforeseen things that you've had a tough time overcoming, and then is there something in your operation that you still maybe haven't overcome yet?
So right off the bat, marketing was a huge struggle of mine. I couldn't tell you how much money paying for leads and outside sources for lost leads, I guess is what you call them. So trying to figure out the correct avenue that worked for me to be able to find those new customers, especially early on, was a huge battle. So like if going back, if I knew what I know now, starting off, it would have been a much faster start, more efficient start, less costs from the beginning. And then Google, we also had a battle with Google. So we went live with Google probably the first couple of weeks after we started our business. And then for some reason, they shut us down for about 2-3 months. and we just had no Google My Business, no way to pay Google for marketing. And we tried calling, contacting them, and fighting with Google is like fighting with the government.
Right.
You're not going to get
Right.
much of anywhere. You're lucky if you can even talk to somebody on the phone. So that was my first 3 months was a huge battle just to get the wheels turning and rolling, and figuring out what marketing avenue worked best for us. And then later on, I would say hiring the right people. That
Yeah, we love it.
I'm sure you
I
guys
hear
do.
you.
Everyone, yeah. All the good owners have that problem.
The
I would say
hardest
it's even
part-
more challenging in the plumbing area. Am I wrong?
No, absolutely. Because I got lucky and hired one guy very early on, and he's still with me now, and he's fantastic. But
That says a lot
a lot
about
of
you.
other hires since then. I mean, I call it the give a shit factor. You guys said I can say the words, but
Of course, yeah.
some people give a shit, some people don't. And a lot of people you find, especially some of the younger generations, I know I'm a little young, but they just don't care. They don't have pride in their work. They don't care
No
to take
ethic.
that
Yeah.
extra step to talk to that customer, to, assure them or to explain to them, or just even do a quality job. And that's a hurdle I'm probably going to never get over.
They do give a shit about getting their check on Friday, no matter what, right?
Right. Yeah. I forgot that check didn't hit that bank account Friday morning.
That's the only
Yeah.
leverage that we got.
That's right.
Are you doing, I'm sorry if I didn't hear this correct. Are you doing some commercial work, or is it all residential?
We do light commercial. I mean, service side.
Okay.
Usually like restaurants. Like I said, we kind of turn down the hotels. My insurance is only up to $1 million. So if I'm going out to an 8-story hotel, I'm usually turning that one down just because we don't really need to have it right now. We're staying pretty busy. And another thing too, when the hotels are calling, you gotta be out there right now. And so the good guys that I have now, we're 9 to 5, and we do an on-call rotation every Saturday. It's every third Saturday, and we never work on Sundays. So family time for my guys and for me, obviously, that's the main reason why I wanted to do this, is to control my schedule. And so having that quality family time is very important for my business. So by not taking on those big commercial clients, that's got to have you right now. Or if they're calling on Saturday night, you got to go out there. I don't want to be going out Saturday night. I'm fine with where I'm at. So light commercial, like I said, Sonics and Subways, those kind of things. We do a lot of that too, but not the big commercial.
Well, and those are very consistent, right? So
Yeah, good repeat business on those.
yeah.
Do you sacrifice a lot of margin on those to get that repeat?
What do you mean?
Well, oftentimes on we did a lot of work for, say, apartment complexes and McDonald's even, but we would, in order for them to call us time and time again, basically they would expect a lower price than I would charge a typical residential.
Our price is already fairly competitive. We're definitely not the cheapest company in town, but we're nowhere near the most expensive.
Gotcha.
The local company that I worked with, another one of the main reasons why I wanted to go out on my own is just some of their pricing. And I get it. They're a big company. I see it now with all the overhead and expenses and everything. The bigger you are, the bigger it costs. So I kind of understand it, but it just broke my heart, some of the prices that we were giving these elderly couples, and they felt like they didn't have a choice.
Yeah.
Paying $400 for a toilet rebuild. Something that takes 15 minutes. I just thought that was a little outrageous at the time.
Agreed.
So we're much more competitive on the price wise. I don't usually offer a discount to try and gain work. Now we do have a big restoration company that we do a lot of work with, probably almost $250,000 a year, just with them alone. Now they do get contractor pricing because we're going 5 to 15 jobs a week we're doing for them.
And they pay you probably on time.
Yeah.
So 5 years, $250,000 with the restoration company. Can I ask what was your revenue last year? And
Around
what do you expect it this year?
800,000 is usually where we're hitting annually.
And what do you expect about the same this year? Are you looking for growth this year?
About the same. Yeah, we haven't added. Each truck brings in between $200,000-$300,000 a year. So with 3 trucks, that gets us to that 700,000 to 800,000. I feel like in order to get over that hump to be $1 million company, I'd have to have 4, maybe 5 trucks on the road. And right now, I'm content. The last 4 guys I tried to hire, they were just. I'm still not over it, to be honest. I did try the 4 trucks, and 4 trucks for me, it's a whole nother level of stress. I feel like there's a big difference between 3 and 4 for me, and managing that 4 was just a lot.
So Tyson likes to ask about technology, and I'll let him. But this is a good segue because I want to find out like managing these four. I mean, could you leverage technology to help manage 5 and 6?
No, absolutely, I could, and I could have my right hand plumber take more responsibility and split the role and say, hey, instead of everybody always calling me asking me questions, technical pricing, whatever, why don't you kind of help out with
Yeah.
that? So
Taking
there is
yourself out of it a little bit.
do what now?
Taking yourself out of it a little bit and
Yeah.
trusting the others. Yeah.
There is avenues. I'm just so hands-on and I'm so kind of particular about how I want things done. It's kind of hard for me to let go of that. I mean, hiring an office lady was one of the hardest things I had to do because I like being the receptionist. I like being able to talk to those customers, to make sure I had control of everything, to answer the technical questions that, customers have.
But that's your wife, right?
Now it is.
And
It
you got to
was
be able to trust her, right?
it wasn't at first, but
Yeah.
it is.
Well, since we are a software, like Rob mentioned, we're a field service centric software. We like to scratch that tech itch, and we're just curious, what are you using, or what have you used as you were growing the company for a platform, CRM wise, or when you were communicating with your customers?
We use House Call Pro, and we've used them since day one. And we like it. I mean, it was inexpensive from the beginning, just for the basic package. And they offered everything that you got the website that's linked to the CRM, so customers can book you online. And they've grown. They've added things and features with their software that has impressed us. And just being able to have a customer history. Like I had a guy call me last night, was like, "Hey, you guys did this," and I pulled it up and I was like, yeah, that was 4.5 years ago. So being able to go back and have that history of knowing what we did, when we did it, how long ago, that's helpful.
So, all right, Brian, with we kind of touched on your goals for Alabama Plumbing. What are the near-term goals, the long-term goals? Where's North Alabama Plumbing going to be in 1 year, 5 years, 10 years?
When 5 more years up, hopefully I'm out of the field and we've got a good, probably double our, service techs and trucks to get me out of the field. I
Are you
mean,
sure you want that?
absolutely. Cause I'm not getting any younger and these crawl spaces aren't getting any smaller.
I
But
hear you.
and then ultimately, I mean, it would be nice to be able to sell for a big paycheck. I mean, I think some of the most successful service owners are people that have sold and started up multiple companies. So that is a goal, but I don't know. Who knows 10, 15 years down the road where I'm at.
That's true. You got to have goals. So exit strategy, maybe a sale. I love it. All right. Well, we are pushing on that time, and
It's already been 30 minutes. That's
Yeah.
wild.
Those well, the
Yeah,
good
y'all
ones
are
go.
right.
The good ones go by quick, Brian.
Yeah, we're right.
So love your story, and I love kind of in the 5 years you've done pretty darn well. But before we wrap things up, we'd like to ask kind of one last question, and that is for anyone who's watching, maybe they're an aspiring entrepreneur. What would you say to this audience of people who might be looking to do this, following your footsteps, or some other field service before they're starting their business? What would be a good piece of advice that you would give them?
I don't think you will regret it. I mean, it's life changing. I mean, you enjoy what you do more often. You feel like you have more of a purpose, when you're going to work. And give it, if when you do make that jump, give it time. Give it 3, 6 months. Don't shut the doors a couple weeks in, just because it's not going to get rolling fast right off the bat. You got to give it a chance. You got to make your mistakes. You got to waste money on marketing avenues, and you got all these hurdles you're going to have to make early on. But yeah, just the aspect of being able to control what you're doing in the trade and your time, and where you get to pick and choose where you want to spend your time. Because when you're working for the man, they tell you what to do, they tell you where to go, whether you like to do it or not. Now, don't get me wrong, early on you're going to have to take jobs that you don't want to take, but again, it's for a good purpose. You're going to enjoy it a lot more because it's you. It's not for somebody else. So definitely something I would strongly recommend. I mean, it's been stressful for me, but it's been a huge blessing.
I love it.
Well
Yeah,
said.
that's a incredibly enlightening conversation. I really liked what you talked about the making mistakes, and that's something that a lot of people, I think, no one who is successful understands how important mistakes are to that pathway, right? As long as you're learning from those mistakes and not tucking tail and running like you suggested. So it's fantastic. So a huge thank you to Bryan Landreth for sharing your valuable insights and stories. It's great to see how much hard work, passion, and dedication you put into building North Alabama Plumbing Company. Love your entrepreneurial spirit. And for all of you watching or listening, if you're in the greater Huntsville area and you're in need of some plumbing services, make sure to reach out to Brian at North Alabama Plumbing Company. You can find their contact information right here on the screen.
Put your finger up, Brian. Right there you go.
And believe me, you can trust that you're working with a true, reliable expert in the field. So once again, thank you, Brian, for being here with us on Swivl Sessions.
Thanks, Brian.
Thanks, Brian.
Tyson, Jeremy, Rob.
And
Thank you.
Rob.
Good chat.
And that's a wrap. Thanks for listening or watching. Swivl's field service software is everything you need to run your field service business for free. Until next time, check us out at swivl.tech. That's SWIVL.tech.